The underground, or the tube as it is affectionately known by millions of people, is the lifeblood of one of Europe's most dynamic capital cities, London. It acts as a catalyst for growth and has played a strategic role in the city's development over the years, and now it's set to bring the same prosperity to the Nine Elms regeneration on the South Bank. This project is the construction of the new Northern Line extension from the existing underground station at Kennington. Being built substantially underground with nearly 3.2 kilometres of twin-bore tunnel, 2 permanent ventilation shafts at Kennington Park and Kennington Green, a new station at Nine Elms, a crossover box and a new station at Battersea, and an overrun tunnel that runs under the Battersea Dogs and Cats Home. This contract demands careful consideration in order to meet the many logistical challenges inherent with a project of this scale. The joint venture team assembled for this project have an enviable amount of experience of working with London Underground, having successfully completed many complex and challenging jobs in the past, including first-hand experience of a step plate junction and over 470 kilometres of tunnelling. Their consultant team comprises of award-winning architects, leading global consulting engineers and specialists that will ensure that the quality and safety of the project is not compromised. One of the most critical decisions in relation to the successful construction and delivery of the running tunnels is the selection and procurement of the most appropriate type of tunnel boring machine. The method of construction for the running tunnels will be by a pair of 6-metre diameter earth pressure balanced TBMs. After on-site testing and commissioning, they will be lowered into their starting position at the eastern end of the crossover box, adjacent to the new Battersea station, and launched to begin their drive towards Nine Elms Station in a staggered format, with the second TBM approximately 1 month behind the first. On reaching Nine Elms, they will pass through the soft eyes and the secant piled wall to continue on to the ventilation shafts at Kennington Green and Kennington Park, where they will be dismantled and extracted by mobile crane, releasing the shafts for their final concrete fit-out and finishes. Battersea Station will be an exciting new transport interchange situated adjacent to the iconic Battersea Power Station, which is currently undergoing extensive redevelopment. The JV's construction methodology has been developed to minimize disruption to the neighborhood and adjacent stakeholders. On site possession, the initial mobilization and site clearance exercise will include an extensive unexploded ordnance survey and the construction of site hoardings, welfare offices, and an enclosed conveyor to Battersea Jetty to allow spoil to be removed via the River Thames by barge. Sheet piling will be installed to enable the safe excavation and construction of the launch chamber for the TBM and the crossover box. The main excavation for the reduced dig will proceed in both the station and the crossover box to create a series of piling mats for the diaphragm wall and board pile construction. At the eastern end of the site, the 2 TBMs will be delivered by road and assembled in readiness for pre-testing and commissioning, whilst in the main section of the works, the precast concrete floor beams will be lifted into place by crawler cranes and tied into the plunge columns and the in-situ capping beam. 2 55-metre flat-top tower cranes will be constructed to offload materials and help with distribution around the site and into the station and crossover box. With the TBMs clear of the site, the crossover box construction can be completed, with the remainder of the bulk excavation, followed by the construction of the permanent structure. Where possible, the team have elected to use off-site manufacturing solutions, such as precast concrete beams and columns, twin wall core walls and lattice planks, and modular MEP equipment in order to offer high-quality finishes, reduce site labour, increase program outputs and safety margins, and to minimize vehicular movements. There are many advantages to this approach. Less noise, dust and disruption, which in turn helps with the local community liaison and adjoining stakeholders. Nine Elm Station is situated on the Wandsworth Road and requires the demolition of an existing boiler house and chimney, the CGMA office and Banham Alarms buildings. The construction will be by top down, starting with the installation of a secant piled wall, which is phased to suit site availability. The main piling for the station will be internal bored concrete piles with steel plunge columns. The station's structure consists of precast concrete beams and plunge columns forming a grillage that will be used to support the station box during bulk excavation and negating the need for extensive temporary propping works. The new vehicular link to the new Sainsbury's store will be handed over after the main construction works and during the station fit-out stage. The overrun tunnels for the station pass below the Battersea Cats and Dogs home, where some of the piles clash with the tunnel alignment and therefore need to be either cut back or supported. The team's solution is to use an SCL mined approach, minimizing the disturbance to the residents of the home during the construction period. The existing piled foundations for the kennels blocks that clash directly will be removed from within the tunnels, as they are encountered with those piles immediately adjacent being supported from the sides of the tunnels with new footings. Whilst this method is feasible for the kennel blocks, the Visitors Centre and ramp building requires the construction of a new strip foundation above the SCL tunnel alignment, which will be mined from the tunnelling works using timber headings. After excavating out to the sides from the main heading and locating the foundations, steel dowels will be drilled into the existing piles. The rebar will then be fixed and the concrete poured, allowing the pile loads to be transferred to the strip foundations via a series of side beams. Any remaining piles or stubs thereafter can then be safely cut from within the tunnel as the works progress. The connection to the existing line at the Kennington Loop requires careful planning in order to allow the loop to operate during normal hours. The new tunnel will be driven alongside the existing line in reduced diameter to form a pilot tunnel. A headwall will be constructed by gaining access from the new tunnel and installing 2 elliptical rings around the existing cast iron tunnel. A further ring will be installed and the concrete headwall constructed. This method of enlarging the excavation around the existing tunnel is called a step plate junction, and as the name implies, the enlargement will be gradually stepped in to meet the existing tunnel form. As the tunnel excavation proceeds, the existing cast iron tunnel is supported by a series of steel props and ties. After the initial section of elliptical rings, a further headwall allows the tunnel form to take on a circular shape and continue to the end of the pilot tunnel. The construction method is repeated along the entire length of the step plate junction. Once the enlargement has been completed, work can commence on the integration of the existing and new trackwork. During the first 52-hour weekend possession, the cast iron rings and linings will be dismantled and removed for approximately 30 meters of tunnel. At the end of the shift, a secure hoarding will be erected to separate the operating railway from the works. This process is repeated along the whole length of the step plate junction. Once complete, the second phase of the works commences with the removal and storage of the rails and the breakout of the existing invert concrete, followed by the dismantling of the cast iron inverts. The first stage concrete track bed will be checked and ballast laid and tampered prior to the reinstallation of the track and sleepers, ready for the weekday operations. In the final 2 possessions, a neoprene ballast mat will be placed for the whole length of the step plate junction, and steel supports placed in position to support the new track and sleepers prior to the final pouring of the second stage concrete. There are two step plate junctions that interface with the existing Northern Line at the Kennington Loop, which once complete will form the springing point for the Battersea Northern Line extension. The JV has a strong management team already mobilised and in place for the project that will ensure that all key dates are met and that the risk to the workforce and the community is minimised. They will also ensure that all subcontractors adhere to their high standards with regard to ensuring the good name of the London Underground is not endangered. The group have the proven track record to deliver this complex and challenging project on time and within budget. When completed and operational in 2020, the Northern Line extension will provide a fast and efficient service, bringing Battersea to the City of London and the West End in just 15 minutes.